Hi, I'm Sandeep, and for my passion project, I've decided to learn C#. To start, what is C#? C# is an object-oriented programming language used by many people around the world. It is used in things such as game design and web development. In this video, you will learn some of the basics of this language. In this video, I will be programming on Visual Studio Code using the .NET framework. I will not be showing you the setup for this. Instead, I will just show you the basics of C# syntax and code in general. Now, if you look at this project, you see a bunch of stuff on there. It might look scary at first, but all we will be doing is coding in this area right here. The rest is not needed for the basics. To start, how do you type words in the console? If you know anything about coding, the first thing people usually do is learn how to write words on the console. Well, how do you do that? The syntax for C# to type is console dot write line followed by parentheses followed by a semicolon. Now, you can type anything inside these parentheses, but usually you would use quotation marks and then type words in there. For example, hello. Now if we run this, it shows hello on the console. Now, that's not all you can write in there. You can also type variables inside here. Well, what is a variable exactly? A variable is something used to store information. There are many types of variables in C#. We already know about the string. Strings are pretty much just characters. To type a string, you use quotation marks. If you notice, the writeLine function usually uses a string. There's also integers, which are numbers without decimal points, floats, which are numbers with decimal points, doubles, which are numbers with even more numbers past the decimal point, and booleans, which are either true or false. You can print the value of any variable using the print function. For example, if you have the variable x can be a string. For example, x can equal hello. You can then put x into the writeLine function, and it will print hello. When printing variables, remember to not put quotation marks around it, or else it will just print whatever you write. Console.writeLine_x prints hello, whereas console.writeLine quotation marks x will print x. X can also be an integer as 10, or a double or float as, let's say, 10.1. This isn't the correct syntax though. To type a variable correctly, you first write the type of variable you want. In this case, let's just use an integer. So you type int, followed by the name of the variable, so let's say x, equals, the equals just means is, 10, followed by a semicolon. Now, we can even just print x, and it will print 10 in the console. You can also make it so that the console takes an input from you, so that you can use it for other stuff in your code. The syntax for this is console.readLine followed by parentheses, then a semicolon. This gets your input as a string. Now you can assign a variable to the input. So let's say we can write string x equals console.readLine. So now if we print x, we can print whatever we wrote in the console again, but you wouldn't want to do that. But let's say you want, let's say, an integer input. You have to use the convert tool. So let's say you wanted x to be an integer. You can type int x, but then you need to use convert. So you write convert dot to int, and then int 16, int 32, and int 64 are the same things, just bigger or small. So let's just use int 32. And this is how you would convert a string to an integer. There are other ways to convert variables to other types, but this is the one that I used in my project. Now, you have some of the basics, but you can't use these by themselves, at least not in the best way. The final thing I will be showing you are the conditionals, also known as if-then statements. If-then statements compare different things and do something according to that. For example, if x equals 0, then write hi. The syntax for this is if followed by parentheses, then x equals 0, so this would be comparing the variable, followed by curly brackets, and then console.writeLine hi. But if you noticed, I did not assign a value to x. So I will need to first do int x equals 0. If you noticed, this has one equal sign and this has two. One equal sign is just saying is, and two is comparing the two values. Now, if we run this, it will print hi. You can pair if-then statements with the writing and reading functions and make some codes. Now, this is an example of a code using if statements and the write line and read line statements. So if you see, the first thing it does is type your first number, then it gets a value from the person using it. Then it writes type your operator, then gets an operator from the user, but it's getting it as a string. Then it gets a second number. Now, here are the if statements. Each one is basically just checking if the operator is equal to one of these. And if it is, then it will do one of these things. So, if operator equals plus, then it will get the two numbers and add them. And that will be your answer. We have answer as a variable, and then we're going to print it out. So here we have console.writeLine, your answer is plus answer. The reason why we have a plus here is to add the string to another string. Let's say your answer was 11. This is the same thing as saying your answer is 11. I've provided a link to a more advanced code I did for the Passion Project, which includes things like loops and lists, which I have not covered. Now, that's the end. There's much more to cover, but this is just the very basics. If you are interested in this topic, there are many better tutorials out there, including the one I used to learn this language. I have provided a link for it, as well as the link to the more advanced code I did for the Passion Project. That's it. Bye.